By 1776, the American War of Independence was in full swing, and young men all across Ireland were inspired by stories of liberty and resistance to tyranny filtering in from across the Atlantic. It was actually Presbyterian Scots-Irish Protestants, and even the occasional Anglican, such as revolutionary leader Wolfe, who formed a new association in Belfast called the United Irishmen, whose platform was based on the American Republic, that pushed for reforms on principles of civil, political, and religious liberty for all Irishmen. By 1789, not only had the United States been victorious in their War of Liberation, but revolution had also broken out in France. The mood of the United Irishmen now shifted from one of internal reform to outright Republican agitation. A number of parliamentarians in England had already voiced their support for social change, and a bill had even been passed in both the London and Dublin houses guaranteeing religious tolerance with some access to higher education. But these reforms were largely ignored by the ruling minority, and things were slow to change on the ground. In 1794, Tone, heavily influenced by Georges Danton, Thomas Paine, and others in the French Assembly, declared his goals: to subvert the tyranny of our execrable government, to break the connection with England, the never-failing source of our political evils, and to assert the independence of my country, to unite the whole people of Ireland, to abolish the memory of all past dissensions, and to substitute the common name of Irishman in place of the denomination of Protestant, Catholic, and Dissenter. It was a dream-like vision, with the whole world seemingly moving in the direction of liberty around them. But, yet again, dissension within the Irish community soon saw splinter groups of regional Catholics and Protestants undermining and openly working against each other. Of course, the British were not sleeping while this was going on, and though they were preoccupied with external events, they were active in helping the movement self-destruct through subterfuge. By 1795, ringleaders within the United Irishmen were being arrested and tried for treason, while others, including Tone, fled to the US or France, hoping for support to instigate a revolution. The French obliged in 1796, with 15,000 troops and plenty of weapons sent across by ship, but storms and rough seas made landing impossible, so the fleet returned to France and the Irish were once again on their own. To make matters worse, in 1798, Napoleon had just sacked Rome, and reports were filtering in of his humiliation of the Pope and the entire Church, which saw Catholic support for the United Irishmen dramatically wither, faced with the prospect of a godless French regime replacing the English, as though it could be any worse. The poor old Irish were going round in circles, and when the rebellion finally exploded, informants had ensured that the British were ready and waiting, arresting many of the organisers within days, such that the rebels were left significantly disorganised and lacking cohesive leadership. Insurrection nevertheless flared up all across the country, with peasants streaming to join the fray, armed only with pikes and farm tools. Guerrilla warfare was fought in towns and villages the length and breadth of Ireland. The revolution came to a head at the Battle of Vinegar Hill, and though the Irish farmers were soundly beaten by seasoned British artillery and line infantry, Lord Castlereagh, Chief Secretary of Ireland and an active combatant during the campaign, commented on the valour of his enemy, despite their being severely outgunned. "I could never have believed that untrained peasants could have fought so well." The French eventually managed to land a few thousand men, but they lacked support and adequate reinforcement, so were eventually defeated, and the whole rebellion collapsed by the end of the year.